Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to All Things Juanita. This time we are going to be talking about things to consider before getting your CDL. A lot of people don't think about these things. They just jump in, and then once they're in school, they kind of hit a brick wall, and then now they have to go back and correct things, fix things, work on things. This video is about tackling those things prior to. That way you won't have to worry about these pitfalls. So let's get into the first one. The first one we're going to talk about is choosing which class CDL you are going to enroll in. You can either enroll in a Class A or a Class B program. Knowing this prior to enrolling will help you decide what kind of work you want to do. With Class A, that means you are driving a combination vehicle. It's Class A equipment. Class B, you will be driving Class B equipment. Consists mainly of just a truck. It's not a combination. When we're talking about Class A equipment, we are referencing equipment such as tractor trailer or truck and trailer, tankers, flatbeds. When you get into Class B equipment, that equipment consists of school bus, dump truck, city bus or transit bus, coach bus. So understanding what kind of work you want to do would help you decide which class CDL to obtain. If you have a Class B CDL, you can only drive Class B equipment. However, if you have a Class A CDL, you can drive both Class A and Class B equipment. The next thing is making sure you are qualified to drive a commercial motor vehicle as per FMCSA. This has nothing to do with the employer specifically, but this has everything to do with the federal government, the feds. Now, FMCSA stands for Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. They set regulations and guidelines, basically set the laws for truckers. There are certain minimum requirements that a driver must meet to be considered a qualified driver. As per FMCSA's website, there are minimum requirements that every driver must meet. Those general qualifications are: you must be 21 years, read and speak English, operate the vehicle safely, physically qualified to perform all duties of a driver, having only one valid motor vehicle operating license, pass the driver's road test, cannot be disqualified to drive a commercial motor vehicle. The next one is checking your motor vehicle record. You want to make sure you have a clean MVR or as close to clean that you can get it. This makes total sense in the trucking industry because remember, you are operating commercial motor vehicles. Employers are going to check to see how safe of a driver you are. So if they see things like DUI, moving violations, to them, you're not considered a safe driver. You want to look into your motor vehicle record. You can pull that yourself. That way you can see where you are and where you stand before going to CDL school. Because this can and it will hinder you with securing a job. Not all employers require your MVR to be squeaky clean, but there are some stipulations that each employer may set for their company. Next, you want to configure a list of at least 5 companies you're interested in working for. Now, this makes sense to do because if you are researching and doing your due diligence on the companies you are interested in working with, they will tell you either on their website or via a recruiter if you pre-qualify. Most times it's a form that you will fill out, or they'll tell you what the requirements are. Now, if you know you have a clean MVR, you haven't gotten into any accidents, no moving violations, you've never had your license suspended, then you're good. You probably could skip that step. I think it's still worth looking at just in case there is an error on there. Researching these companies to see what their pre-qualifications are will help you in the long run. You definitely want to get a head start. That is really being proactive. And then if you don't, now you can create some SMART goals and work on that while you're in CDL school or before you start. That way you're not left not being able to secure a job in the trucking industry. So the next thing to consider prior to getting your CDL is insurability. Can you be insured? Are you insurable? From a business aspect, one of the reasons why companies are looking at your motor vehicle record to see if you are insurable. They have to pay insurance for you. And as a new CDL driver, insurance is extremely expensive. As a company, they would be the one to eat that cost. There's no way to get out of that. That's why most employers require 2 years experience, because by the second year, you're considered experienced. The first 2 years, you're considered a new or inexperienced CDL driver. So insurance is already high out the gate. What employers are trying to do is they're trying to vet new CDL drivers to see, what does your record look like? If you have a clean record, a clean motor vehicle record, we're not talking about criminal record, the insurance will just be high because you're a new driver. No other stipulations. However, if you have violations on your motor vehicle record, accidents, moving violation, now those are going to be added things to the insurance policy, and now the insurance is going to be extremely high, or the insurance company may say, we can't add them to your policy at all. They don't want to lose money. Companies hire drivers to make money. If you are costing them, they're not going to want to hire you. Here's the next one. Will you pass a drug and alcohol test? You want to make sure before you even enroll in CDL school that you are going to pass your drug and alcohol test. If you know you've been drinking and participating in other things, you might want to sit this out for a little bit until it clears out of your system and you've made the conscious decision to no longer participate in that, because again, not only is your life at stake while driving these big commercial vehicles, but other drivers that are on the road if you are not being a responsible professional driver. The next thing is, will you pass a DOT physical? So in order to operate a commercial motor vehicle, you have to undergo a DOT physical to obtain your DOT medical card. With the DOT physical, you are going to go to basically like an urgent care. Now, this is the thing. All urgent cares provide physicals, but not all of them are qualified as a DOT, Department of Transportation, physician. That physician at that urgent care must be licensed or certified, whatever the terminology is, to perform those types of physicals. And if you plan on crossing state lines, you want to make sure you select interstate on your DOT physical application. Now, interstate allows you to cross state lines. If you select intrastate, INTRA, you will only be able to haul freight within the state of your residence. For example, I live in the state of Pennsylvania. I have an interstate DOT physical or DOT medical card. I am able or capable of moving freight across state lines. Now, if I had an intrastate DOT medical card, the moment I cross into New Jersey, New York, Maryland, or West Virginia, I would be out of compliance. You want to make sure you are going to be able to pass that. They'll have you go through a series of things to make sure that you are physically able to perform the job of a truck driver. If you are struggling or if you have high blood pressure, you definitely want to talk to your doctor. In order to pass a DOT physical, your pressure has to be regulated at the time of the physical and beyond. So if that is something that you are struggling with, you definitely want to consult your doctor and work out a plan with that. And with the physicals, you can either have a DOT physical that expires every 2 years, or you can have one that expires every 1 year. For those who do have high blood pressure, to my understanding, you are only able to get a DOT medical card that is only good for 1 year. Now, this is very important when it comes to your DOT medical card. Please make sure you keep on top of that. It is your responsibility, not your employer's. Now, most employers will let you know when it's coming up on expiration, but it is your responsibility to keep that renewed, because if your DOT medical card expires, are y'all listening to me? If it expires, you lose your CDL license. I'm gonna say that again. If it expires, you lose your CDL license. And the only way to obtain your CDL again is to go through the process all over again. Which means you would have to enroll in CDL school, you would have to do your skills, your theory, sit for the exam. You would literally have to do everything all over again as if you never had a CDL. So do not allow that to lapse. And then when you get your DOT medical card, it's not like a hard plastic card. It really is just a printout. Your employer will obtain a copy, and then you will keep a copy with you, because that have to be with you and on your persons whenever you're driving a commercial motor vehicle. Now, after you obtain that DOT medical card, please listen up very carefully. You want to take a copy of that DOT medical card and bring it to PennDOT if you're in the state of Pennsylvania, or to motor vehicles. Now, when you get to motor vehicles, you're going to tell them, hey, I have my DOT medical card. I wanted to update your system so that it is on file. Now, your employer will tell you,
oh no, we do that. We'll send it to motor vehicles for you.
That's fine and dandy. They can do that. But because this is your CDL license and not theirs, you want to make sure it gets to where it's supposed to go. I would suggest you go to PennDOT or DMV and bring your medical card for them to update their system and attach that to your license. When you do that, they will give you a printout receipt. On that receipt, it will say, we received a copy of your DOT card on this date. This is receipt. Keep this for your record. Keep that for your record because it may not be updated in the system right away. Or if it doesn't get updated, at least you have proof that you provided DMV with a copy of your DOT medical card. Definitely don't allow your employer to just do that step for you because, again, it's your license on the line, not theirs. Don't take the risk. So the next thing we're going to talk about is cost. When it comes to cost, you want to think about who is going to pay for this. There are two routes with covering the cost. One is going through CDL school. And with CDL school, you can either pay out of pocket or you can obtain basically like a scholarship and have a program pay for your CDL school. When you do it that way, you are not in debt to anyone. So even if you do go through the program, I think there are some requirements to become eligible. If you guys are interested in learning more about that, let me know in the comments and then I can make a separate video for that. But other than that, I'm not going to get too much into detail. But I will say when you obtain your CDL on your own, you are not in debt to anyone. The other way to obtain a CDL is going through a company, basically be company sponsored training. And that can occur one of two ways. Either the company has a schooling within their company and they teach you and go through the process of obtaining your CDL directly through them, or they will tell you a list of approved CDL schools that they work with and they'll pay the school directly. Understand when you go through a company sponsored CDL training, they will make you sign a contract for however many years. You'll have to work with them because they're basically investing in you. But because they are investing in this and they're paying for your schooling, you would basically owe them some loyalty. So they don't want people using them to get their CDL license, having them pay for it, and then they quit a week later. There's going to be some stipulations. Make sure if you have to sign a contract, you read it, you understand it, even have an attorney look over it. That way you know what you're really signing and what you're getting yourself into. Some of them, they'll say you at least have to stay a year, but you can leave. If you do leave, you're required to pay us that money back. Just make sure, again, you know the terms of the contract that you're signing and you know what you're getting yourself into prior to doing it. Next thing is if the company you are interested in working for offers tuition reimbursement. So remember previously when I said you want to have a minimum of 5 companies you're interested in working for? Within that list of companies you have, ask them, do they offer tuition reimbursement? And see what they say. So what tuition reimbursement is basically the company will reimburse you for the cost you paid to go to CDL school. Majority of them, I'll say, that reimbursement is over the course of, let's say, 10 payments, or it might be over the course of a year, or whatever the case may be. So it's not like a lump sum payment. It is within your check. You'll get, a certain amount. So you definitely want to ask them if that's something that they offer. Another thing, most companies, you still qualify for tuition reimbursement if it's offered, even if your tuition was paid by third party. And this brings me to the last point I am going to make for this video. That is sign-on bonuses. Here's the deal with sign-on bonuses. You will see a lot of companies advertise a sign-on bonus of $5,000. I've seen some with an upward of $10,000. That is a huge red flag. When you see companies that have large sign-on bonuses, that is an indication that that company has a high driver turnover. So a high driver turnover means drivers are leaving and coming in. Drivers are always quitting and they're always basically hiring new drivers. So that's another thing when you are speaking with these companies, ask them what is their turnover rate and see what they say. So you want to work for a company, honestly, that has a low turnover rate because that lets you know that the drivers who work there are happy. Now, granted, everyone won't be happy. Not every employer is a great fit with a driver. Obviously, drivers aren't happy here, and try to understand why. Is it the pay? Is it the treatment? Is it the equipment? That is a video for another day. But for right now, we're going to end it here. Thank you so much for watching. If you find value in this content, please don't keep that a secret. Consider subscribing to my channel, giving it a thumbs up, and leaving a comment. See you on the next one.